Well, I've been a Dennistoun resident for over 20 years. And right from day one, since I moved to the area, the pool was at the heart of our community.
So, I mean, Whitehill Pool certainly is important to the people of the area. Equally as important to me, it's the pool that I learned to swim in. And obviously I went to Whitehill School as well.
This pool has been open ever since I've moved here, despite my accent. I've been here 35 years now. My daughter grew up learning to swim in this pool, as did generations of children.
Because my school is right next to Whitehill Pool. And we would normally, for in our school, we get swimming lessons, and we would normally go to Whitehill. But now, since it's closed down, we need to go to Springburn, which is a lot longer to get there, and it's a lot more stressful to get there.
Well, it's a really important asset for everyone in the community and the wider East End, I'd say, as well. There's a whole community who knew each other from just coming to the pool, and it brought people together in a way that has been lost, and those people have now lost that contact because of the lack of being brought together through the facility. So it's essentially, throughout its years, been a hub to bring people together.
For us, it was a great way to feel part of the community, to meet new people. For me, as a mum, it was a brilliant way to connect with other families and other children.
We live in Dennistoun, we're really close. It's a pool I would have normally swum in at least now and again myself, and my kids could swim. They're both really keen swimmers at the Whitehill Swimming Club.
The importance of the pool is really, we live right beside it, and we can really see it as a kind of community hub.
Yeah, Whitehill Pool has been a big part of the community for a long time. I've probably lived here about 17 years, and my son's learnt to swim there, his life-saving skill, and he really misses it, and he won't travel to another pool.
It's really, really well established. It's beautifully run and always has been, and I think there's a real strength to that, and that brings kind of real positivity into people's lives, and it's super, super important.
So I've been a member of the Whitehill Swimming Club since I was 4 years old, and now I'm 16, so it's been a long time, and every week I've always loved going, and that's where I've made most of my friends.
You had babies in there swimming in that pool, you had families in. It was where so many of our local kids, all for many generations, all learnt to swim. We had, you had people who were middle-aged, you had people who had health issues, you had people with disabilities, you had older people. It really was a community facility for all of us, and we used it and believed in it.
Whitehill Pool was the only pool in Glasgow able to provide the facilities for Muslim children to change and to swim in private as people would want from their community.
It was really obvious how important it was, particularly, for example, the Temple Swimming Club, who made great use of the pool, and it was really important to their members that it was part of their activities.
My daughter is having a wonderful time in the swimming club. She's got up to a purple cap, she's feeling dead grown up and brilliant.
Swimming is a huge opportunity. It's also very socially inclusive, and it's also less gender exclusive in other sports, and that's why swimming is a really good leveller and an excellent facility to have in the community.
My son is really keen in the swimming club, so the clubs work really hard and we're going, but it's just much handier when it's here in Dennistoun.
Well, when I first got elected as the MSP for Glasgow Provan in 2016, one of the things that became immediately apparent to me in the community of Dennistoun was the importance of Whitehill Pool to the community.
The Whitehill Pool is really great because we were going to go there for swimming at my school, but we weren't able because they shut it down.
We've discovered that there is now RAAC in the building, which for health and safety reasons means that the building's had to close.
As far as Dennistoun Community Council goes, we've been trying to get regular information. As things stand, we get absolutely nothing.
Since the closure, because of the health and safety reasons, there's been a number of inspections done, detailed structural surveys done with Glasgow Life and indeed the council to ascertain how serious the problem actually is. So that's still continuing.
We are filming here almost at the start of November, and as far as we're concerned, the situation's still as it was at the end of March, when we were told that Glasgow Life's intention was to solicit quotes for repair work across their entire estate for RAAC.
What I feel with Glasgow Life is that it's not been as much of a priority as it should be. We've been waiting nearly a year for updates in terms of costings, timescales of the work to get done from the RAAC, and it has been nearly a year now since that has took place.
and we've heard nothing more since, and understand that's still the situation. And looking from the outside, no, if I took that amount of time in my job to solicit quotes, I'd be sacked.
We've been sitting with the pool closed now for well over a year with some action happening, but we needed to move forward much more quickly.
I have written to Glasgow Life. I received a response yesterday. They're saying there's not been much change since I had written to them on the 20th of September. But they are looking at options. My worry is, it's not just the RAAC that's the problem, it's the upgrade of the pool, which is going to cost quite a significant amount of money.
It's sad to think where we got to and the commitments that Glasgow Sport and our elected members had given us, that, this RAAC, there was a assessment carried out in June. We've not had any update.
And that's why seeing it in the current state is so depressing, because there was so much energy and effort went into saving the pool, to have this really frustrating setback that we've seen a year ago with the RAAC concrete situation. It's just devastating.
Statement from Glasgow Life on the issue of RAAC at Whitehill Pool. Draft cost reports have been returned, and Glasgow Life is reviewing these and identifying likely capital required and delivery timescales associated for each option. This information will be shared and discussed with Glasgow City Council colleagues over the coming weeks to review these findings and consider how to progress matters.
This came out of the blue, no one was contacted about it, none of us as councillors were contacted about it.
So I want to be very clear that was not a decision of the elected members, it was an operational decision from Glasgow Life.
I don't know who authorised the fence, but we as elected members had no consultation with regards to that fence going up.
I think it ties into what we were saying earlier about how Glasgow Life has not been communicating with the community.
So my understanding, the response I got back for Glasgow Life was the erection of the fence and indeed the closure of some of the gates was in response to some increased antisocial behaviour in and around the kind of footprint of the pool. The Glasgow Life's response to that was to obviously close the gates off to try and make sure that it minimises the risk to the building, because they were really concerned about the safety of the building.
I think it's absolutely shocking, because when the pool and the school was built, that was a public walkway. Because it was built right across the road. So that's the whole reason there was a walkway through the pool.
There was also, my understanding, an abandoned car in the car park next to it.
Well, the excuse that apparently local councillors were given was there was great difficulty in dealing with an abandoned car in the car park. Really? Really?
Police Scotland weren't contacted about it. No one was contacted about it. And I think Glasgow Life might need to reflect on how they do community consultation, because it is a key route for people cutting through this way to get to Onslow Drive, and yet they haven't took that into any consideration.
I think that Glasgow Life should have consulted the local community and should have been working with local elected members, the community council, the Save Whitehill Pool group, and indeed the police, to understand where the problems lie and how best we as a community address those problems rather than just shutting them away.
So it's something that I've taken up with Glasgow Life to understand why they've done that and what their plan is going forward, because that fence limiting access is not a good idea for the community.
It's again that kind of petty contempt for these community assets that we see so often in Glasgow. Why is there not more effort to be proactive about involving people in the future of this swimming pool and its assets?
I've asked that the fence that was erected be removed completely, because I don't think that that's a long-term solution to the problem.
I had written to the director and said to her, this is a walkway and we need to get this opened up.
There's a fence that's been installed, and although the gate is left open, I just don't think it's helping our community at all. It just gives the impression that the pool is just off limits.
If you kind of fence it off, people forget about it, and for us that is hugely problematic, because you can see that in big cities. It's a very good way of ending a building. Put a fence around it, you can't even access it, you begin to drift out of consciousness.
We need the fence taken down, and we need that pathway kept open. More than anything, if we close the area around that pool, it becomes a barren wasteland at the heart of our community. We need it kept open and we need it kept accessible.
And actually, around about that time, almost outside the pool, in the grounds of the pool, the almost like the committee, if you like, of the pool campaign coalesced really spontaneously.
So I think we've seen in 2019 the importance to the local community by the strong turnout to some of the meetings that we had, when there was obviously some rumours that Whitehill Pool had potentially been earmarked for closure. And I think that really demonstrated the local community's passion for keeping Whitehill Pool open.
It really engaged the community. I remember the public meetings that were held about the pool in the school. It was absolutely packed to the rafters. I remember being out in the streets of Dennistoun on Duke Street talking to people. So I believe it really the campaign lit the fire in people's bellies and made them aware of what we were going to lose.
We kind of got it all together, and it was almost volunteering roles immediately. And I jumped in saying, okay, I can do the visual stuff. We need to, and we were going around sort of chapping doors, putting things through letterboxes and getting out there, and really kind of made that visual impact count. And it's just the sheer number of people involved.
Well, I worked very closely with the Save Whitehill Pool campaign back in 2019. Many meetings with the group, who were hugely active and they did a great job. And also some very big public meetings, which again showed the strength of the pool, the importance of the pool and the strength of feeling in the community.
Every important event we'd turn up, and that thing of making your presence felt, because it's a question of kind of knowing that you're there, and like, we're here, we're not going to really accept this, we don't like this as a concept, and we're going to keep sort of popping up and bothering you.
It was a really good campaign, and a lot of the community had taken part in that, and actually went in, marched into George Square, along with like some of the service users of the pool.
Definitely more investment, keep these facilities going.
There was so many people involved in that campaign and who really supported that campaign. There was a real buzz about it. So I believe that we were really successful in that phase of the campaign of bringing the community together, uniting them on this issue and that kind of common fight.
I'm here with Bill Stark from Whitehill Swimming Club. Bill was a major linchpin in the original Save Whitehill Pool campaign back in 2019.
Work was carried out to modernise the showers and the changing areas, installed new lighting in the reception areas and the pool areas. Work was in progress to bring the teaching pool back into full working use.
We had been a really successful campaign. I'm proud of what we achieved at the time. Where do we go from here?
Whitehill Pool is not the only pool in Glasgow that RAAC was founded. Other community facilities, council facilities, have been able to be repaired.
Where we've seen announcements of RAAC funding from the UK government for schools and hospitals, leisure facilities are just as key assets for communities.
Now, we know that the Commonwealth Games has now been announced. There is some investment coming into the venues that are being used. And I don't see that is given sort of legacy towards the local community-based facilities. And if possible, I think we need to redress that balance, where we potentially, if there was money that was going into some of those facilities, needs to be redistributed across the estate.
We are hosting the Commonwealth Games again. We hosted it back in 2014. And I would ask, where is the legacy for the East End? Where is the legacy from Dennistoun around health, fitness, support, community involvement? This year, as we're coming towards hosting the Commonwealth again, we need a focus back on communities being able to access sports, communities having local facilities, and communities being able to take part. That's what we need.
We've talked a lot about 10 years ago, what was the legacy of the Commonwealth Games. We have Toll Cross Pool, obviously, in the East End, but this community pool here has been, floundering. For a number of years, it's been, on the cusp of closure a number of times. And I think a really positive legacy from the injection of capital into the city for the Commonwealth Games would be to see these community facilities reopened. We know swimming is a huge sport in Scotland, and it's a huge opportunity for us to bring on young talent, and as well as supporting active lifestyles, which are so important for keeping people out of hospital.
We can restart the campaign to get it opened again.
I think we need to kind of become a lot more active again, become more visible in the community. This has been dormant, needs to maybe come back, and we need to kind of get stuck in again in the nicest possible way.
We are reinvigorating the campaign. We never stopped campaign. We have continued the calls on behalf of the community to reopen our community resource, really.
I think this community campaign has to really reignite again. It's about pressuring.
We will keep fighting, and this community has to keep fighting for this resource. So whilst there's many battles ahead, I believe that we are still united in that vision that we will get our pool back open again.